Welcome back to the Toon Chat podcast. I'm your host, as always, Coleslaw, and it is now officially August. Wow. But that means summer is almost over. Aww. But it's okay, because you could be inside. Inside, you can do lots of fun things, like watch movies. Speaking of movies, that's what I'm going to talk about this month. I'm going to break down my 10 favorite animated movies of all time. So you can go get your fluffy blankets and your popcorns and get it all together to go binge all 10 of these movies right after this. Now I wanted to make like a few underrated movies on this list because I didn't want like a boring list of like, oh, all the Disney Renaissance films, have a good day. No, I wanted to shine a light on a few ones that I actually really personally enjoy, but you might be like, huh, what is that? That doesn't seem like a great movie, but I'm going to tell you that actually is, and it'll be a good time. So let's just jump onto our top 10 list. But first, logo, do your thing. Before I get to the top 10 list, I want to give a shout out, honorable mention if you will, to this movie. It is such a great movie. I wasn't going to talk about it because it's slightly weird, but it is such a fantastic movie. I love it so much. But yeah, anyway, let's get to the top 10. Squeaking in here, coming at the number 10 spot, you got Leap. This is a little bit of a under the radar pick. Most people don't know this movie, but it was released in 2016 by a French animation studio. And think of it as like, sort of like Annie, but more ballet and more French. One thing I really like about this film is how they portray like the 1880s France setting there. It's done really well, and you get to see a whole lot of really well done ballet. It's really nice to see. The vocal cast on this film is great, and the show translates over to English in the English dub super duper well. And then you got the show's soundtrack, which is just really, really good. Especially Rainbow by Liz Hewitt. I listen to it all the time. It's such a beautiful, beautiful song. But the highlight of this film is probably that dance battle scene, or any scenes with the couple you see here. They're just my favorite. But that dance battle scene, you got Demi Lovato's Confidence playing in the background. It is just so epic to watch, and I rewatch it all the time. And also, here's just one more scene with that amazing couple. Felicie and Victor are just so adorable, so here they are again. Yay! Okay, moving on to number 9. Coming in 9th place is a film that I reviewed on my Instagram a little while back, and that is Arlo the Alligator Boy. This was released just back in 2021 by Netflix Animation, and I was a little skeptical at first, like Arlo the Alligator Boy, yeah, it's gonna be like super childish. It was a musical movie about an alligator moving to the big city, accompanied by a band of fellow outcasts. So yeah, like a little on that immature side, but what I got was very, very surprisingly good. The movie has 4 very great musical numbers that I threw right into my playlist, and the animation is fun, it's bubbly, and it's really high quality. There's just so many fun, unique character designs. Not one character is the same, and you remember all of them after you view the movie. So nothing about this movie really feels stale. It may be a little bit childish in some bits like I thought, but like nothing feels really boring. My favorite character of the bunch has to be this guy right here. Marcellus, the fish human dude. He's just like laugh out loud funny. In the epilogue series, I Heart Arlo, that is worth watching because of this dude. He's voiced by the same guy who plays Murray from Stranger Things, so that might be why he's so funny, but I don't know, he's just amazing. Look at him. Now there are certainly better put together animated movies out there, more like prestigious ones, but this one was just such a nice surprise, especially with the music, so I had to include it on my list. And coming in 8th place, I'm kind of cheating here because I'm putting an entire franchise, but the How to Train Your Dragon franchise comes in at number 8. I feel like one film alone wouldn't make the top 10, but the entire franchise of the How to Train Your Dragon world really does make my top 10 list. It really is just an incredible franchise that pulls off that Viking world with dragons in it very, very well. The animation very noticeably improves with each installment, you can really see it. We also got a really nice cast of characters, but the standout for me are A, all the dragons, because of course, but B, the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless, but also C, the relationship between Hiccup and Astrid. So Hiccup and Toothless have this really great dynamic with the enemies turned best friends concept, and it's pulled off beautifully. Best part of the first film by far. And Hickstrid is like so very adorable. I love Hickstrid so much. one of the most underrated ships of all time. They grow so much throughout the franchise, and their wedding was all a fan could have hoped for. And their relationship really got to grow because of the How to Train Your Dragon Netflix show entitled Race to the Edge. We got to see them between the first and second film as they grew as boyfriend and girlfriend. There was even a sequel series in Homecoming where you got to see them as parents a little bit. You got to see a lot of growth between that couple, and that's what made them so good. And saving the best part of this franchise for last, you got John Powell's incredible score. Every track is beautiful and thought out very thoroughly. He put together one of the best soundtracks of any movie ever. This soundtrack of How to Train Your Dragon is like up there with Star Wars and Jurassic Park and all those fantastic scores. Go give it a listen if you have not heard it. Coming in 7th place is Over the Moon. This Netflix animation film was released in 2020, and this film is like near perfection in the first third, aka like the first 30 minutes of the film. It's fantastic. When the film is set on Earth and it focuses in on Fei Fei in a relationship with her mother and like the struggle she has with losing her, that's when the show's at its best. But it goes a little downhill from there. When the setting of the entire movie changes to the moon, the structure and plot gets a bit more clunky and things start to get hit or miss. The animation, voice acting, and soundtrack stays pretty solid throughout the film though, so it's very, very solid. Speaking of that soundtrack, you got the show's first musical number, Rocket to the Moon. Mwah. Absolute masterpiece of a song, and that song alone elevates the show a couple spots up here to 7. I also love Ultra Luminary. That one's amazing. I listen to those two all the time. They're absolute bops. You really can't sleep on Netflix animation. They're an underrated platform for animated movies, and that's not the last time you're going to see them either. Coming in 6th place, you got Walt Disney Animation's first film on this list with Tangled. Tangled is a pretty simple movie. It's just Disney going back to its roots with like the classic Disney princess formula, but everything just like clicks really well. It's kind of like back in the 90s when they had their Renaissance. They made a whole lot of good like classic Disney princess films. Look at like all of these right here. They work because they're just simple and they hit all the right notes. And that's what Tangled does. But I like Tangled a little bit more than all those old films. Maybe because it's the CGI is really so much better and I like 3D animation more. But you know, the music in Tangled is just so very good that I have it here at 6. Songs in this show really are high quality and they hold up as being some of the best Disney songs of all time. And that goes to even with the entire Tangled franchise as you go into Tangled the series, which has some of the best songs of all time out of any cartoon. So Tangled really knows what it's doing. Disney was in a pretty big slump in the early 2000s, making a whole bunch of not great films, but then once Princess and the Frog came out a year before this one, and then this one came out, then they started doing really well. It's just such a joy to watch Tangled, so you should go watch it. Yeah. Coming in at 5th place, you got another Walt Disney animation film, and that is Moana. You can probably see a trend of what the films I like here, and this one just checks all the boxes. Animation, it's great. Soundtrack, stellar. The characters, the storyline, voice acting, culture aspect, everything hits. Good CGI, I think, makes or breaks an animated film, and great music separates the great from the amazing. The music's super unique, nothing like we've seen from Disney, except maybe a little bit in Lilo and Stitch, but this movie's music is more like cinematic and grand, so I prefer that. If the writer folks over at Disney can make a good script for a sequel, sign me up for it. The film is great as a standalone, but I would not mind stepping back into the Moana timeline. And then coming in at 4th place, there's a little bit of a shocker here, but it's Klaus. So you may be surprised to see a Christmas film at the top half of my list here, and I'm surprised too, but Klaus might just be the film that has pleasantly surprised me the most on this entire list. This film, artistically and stylistically, is unique and absolutely gorgeous. The humor is also very great. I'm laughing every time I rewatch this movie. And the story is also really sweet and simple, and you got a whole bunch of likable and developed characters, so everything is really good. Not only is this an all-around above average film, I'd say it's like the perfect Christmas film, but you know, that's just my take. Except for like maybe like the last act of the film, it's a little iffy, but that's okay. The journey that the show takes you on with Jesper and Smearingsburg and that whole thing in the first 4/5 of the show, it's a whole lot of fun. And while I absolutely really do want some more Klaus content, I don't think that this one really needs a sequel or any type of epilogue series or anything. This is just a really nice, pleasant surprise. It's a really nice gift that Netflix gave us, so I don't think it needs to be replicated, but it is absolutely fantastic. Coming in at third place is Frozen 2. This was released back in 2019 by Walt Disney Animation Studios, and following the insanely successful first film, which came out in like 2013, Disney went all out for the second one here. Disney didn't exactly know what they had going when they had their first film, so this film, now that they have a good idea what their entire franchise has going for it, it took a big step up in my opinion. Like everything steps up really. The animation, stellar, especially in the Into the Unknown music video sequence, absolutely amazing. Songs, incredible, better than the already great songs in the first movie. It's just really, really impressive. And this film also doesn't have an annoying twist villain, so thank goodness for that. And the music in this movie is so great it's worth mentioning another time. Every song feels magical and grand, which is huge for this film. The best films are the ones that are rewatchable, and good music in a film is a big contributor to the rewatchability of a film. So fantastic work to the entire Frozen 2 team. Receiving the silver medal in second place is, to no one's surprise, Steven Universe the movie. This was also released in 2019, this one by Cartoon Network, and while Steven Universe is my favorite show of all time, that's not going to change, so it's no surprise that it's so high on this list. And what made the series stand out as being incredible was the music, and this is a musical movie, so things kept rolling. There was also a really important age up in this movie, a few years, making Steven 16 years old, and that is really just what the franchise needed there. Spinel is very fun and a complex villain with multiple bangers of songs to her name, so I love Spinel, yay. The whole concept they have of getting the memories back for all the gems, it's not anything special, but it's enjoyable enough to watch. And Steven does, not surprisingly, go through a number of therapy-bound experiences, you could say, because of course he does, he's Steven, and that does not slow down the sequel series, I can tell you that. And in order to top Steven Universe the movie, based off my favorite show of all time, it has to be a really, really special movie, but I think there is one that's just so well done, I think it was deserving of that crown. So coming in as my favorite and bestest animated feature film of all time is Encanto. This was released in 2021 by Walt Disney Animation Studios, and you've seen this movie. I think it's probably the most flawless animated movie of all time. That's a bold statement, but let me back it up. First off, the animation. The animation is Disney at its absolute finest. CGI is only getting better and better throughout the years, so since this one is so new, it's absolutely mind-blowing. This scene in particular absolutely blew me away. Like, how does it look so good? How did they do that? Like, whoa! And then secondly, you got that soundtrack by Lin-Manuel. Doesn't feature a bad song. There's not a single bad song, no bad eggs in this soundtrack here. Some other musical movies on the list maybe have like one or two meh, not great songs. Encanto delivers on all of its musical numbers. This movie really did feel like Disney dipping into like the Broadway territory, but maybe because of Lin-Manuel Miranda's participation, but hey, that's a great place to be, Disney. Stick in that area, please. Now, I personally have seen this movie like at least half dozen times now, but every time like the credits start rolling, you just come to that realization that this is indeed one of the best animated movies of all time. It's so culturally rich with the visual, auditorial, and story departments, but it does a good job of like not shoving that culture aspect down your throats, really. Every aspect is molded together so nicely, and it just puts together a breathtaking animated feature film. And just for the fun of it, here's my old showdown post-ranking system of how I did things with Encanto, so yeah, you can see here, that's pretty dang good. So yeah, those are my top 10 favorite animated movies. You can feel free to watch any and all of them. Tell me how you liked them. Tell me if they're terrible picks on my end. But we're gonna move right along to everyone's favorite segment. What the dump happened last month? And what happened last month? 2 words: adult animation. They absolutely took over the month of July. It was crazy. There's like 4 whole shows that got new stuff. I had to watch it all, and there's so much adult animation. It's incredible. So we got Harley Quinn with the new season 3, Primal with new season 2, Toon and Birdie with season 3, Hell of a Boss got its season 2 premiere. Everything's happening, so I'm going to talk about it super duper quickly right now. Starting it off, you got Harley Quinn with its season 3. Harley Quinn quickly became one of my 2 favorite superhero shows alongside this amazing one because of its fun writing, solid animation, and fantastic set of characters. This 3rd season has been long awaited by its fans, including me, and it's finally here on HBO Max. This season picks up right where it left off with the botched wedding and Harley Ivy driving into the sunset. And expanding on Harley and Ivy is what I was most excited for this new season, and they already seem to be delivering in that area. And I already know that the rest of the season is going to be an absolute blast to watch, so I am just hoping that they have something big planned for the season's finality. But for whatever regards that happens to the lovable characters, all the protagonists, anyways, it's just a really good show. Go watch it. And then you got Primal with its long-awaited season 2. Primal is a super unique show from legendary creator. The show is more of like a beautiful work of art than a TV show, but it's totally deserved of the 2nd season. This season I feel is already better than the previous one. Why is that? I think it's because the show is now grounded, and it's following like an intriguing plot with Spear and Fang trying to find the kidnapped Mira, and the journey they go on feels more fleshed out, and both of their characters are getting a lot more development. Oh yeah, and they're getting all that development while not saying a single word, because the show is still following its 0 dialogue approach, and it's amazing. In addition to that, visuals are all still fantastic, making Primal a real standout on Adult Swim's current lineup. Next, you got Toon and Birdie with its season 3. This one's probably my least favorite of the bunch here, but I still have mostly good things to say about it, so let's get to that. I will say that Toon and Birdie has always been elite when it comes to like unique ways it visualizes like these random just like particular scenes. Like you can see there's just like some scenes that are really unique and special. The show like is not afraid to be super wacky with the animation and like the plot points and what happens, but it's still very serious with the tones and messages. You really can see and feel like BoJack Horseman's presence in this show with its whole like approach, even with BoJack being over for a little while now. Now I tend to like shows more about supervillains and dinosaurs with their story driven more than like these shows that are episodic, talking about real issues and stuff like that, but still very enjoyable nonetheless. And now, for the show that almost made me explode when I saw that it came out, I was so flippin' happy. Hell of a Boss Season 2 premiere. You always love it when VisiPop does something, because you know it's going to be super impressive, super funny, and it'll pull on your heartstrings every single time. The first episode here of Season 2 enacts as like a flashback childhood episode type thing, and I'm totally here for that. Getting to see child versions of some of the characters we love the most, super duper cool. This episode also confirmed my favorite character is indeed Stolas. His arc with his relationships with Stella and Blitz, they get a lot more clarity, things get resolved, and they're very, very well written. Oh, and Stolas has a song, Let's Flip and Go! Of course, it's not as good as You Will Be Okay, because that is near perfection, but it's still something that adds a lot to this episode that there's a song in it. Now, if I had to rank this one in my original rankings from Toon Chat Episode 1, it would probably fall right about here in the rankings. So pretty dang good. Good job, Vivian Medrano. So yeah, July was a busy month for all the adult animation, and I am totally here for it. But with that, that's all I have time for this month. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next month. See ya!